Welcome to On the Rec Yard, Women's Prison Podcast, where we are live on the rec yard every. Hey, y'all, it is Wednesday night, and we are on the Rec Yard, Women's Prison Podcast. I'm Marci Marie.
I'm Toonche.
Toonche, we could not talk about Luigi Mangione. We couldn't pass it up.
No, for sure. So many people have so many questions and opinions and thoughts, about Luigi. And so, yeah, I mean, it's directly related to criminalization in prison. So, I mean, I think it's relevant.
I'm really excited to talk about Luigi, but I'm even more excited to talk about how it goes down when you snitch in prison, because honestly, the McDonald's lady reminded me of some prison shit that happens. You know those snitches I'm talking about.
I do. Yeah, I mean, that's an important piece of it. The McDonald lady that turned Luigi in. So, yeah, I would be very interested to hear what our community has to think about that. The whole incident, the violence and the way we deal with power, and how do we feel when people turn people in?
All of those things. And I'm also just really excited. One of my very favorite people on the planet is joining us tonight. The legendary Colin Rea happens to live right by the McDonald's where it all went down. So we're fixing to pop him on and talk about that. Before I do that, just know that I'm already seeing y'all come into the live, and I'm so excited. I see you in the chat already. Thank you for remembering to like the live, share the live, all of the good things, comment. And if you're listening right now, wherever you hear your favorite podcasters, please leave us a review. We see y'all in those reviews. We check those reviews, and y'all are like favorites. If you want to be a favorite, leave a review on Spotify, and we would appreciate that. And I see so many of y'all tuning in from YouTube. We're about to be, making our way to YouTube only. So thank you for already signing up on YouTube. And Jen, let's do this real quick. Hey, Toonche, Toonche, I don't even know what day of the week it is. I got to tell you.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
Ongoing chaos this time of year is insane.
Yeah. I think you said it best in a meeting yesterday. Was, what are you looking forward for the holidays? For it to be over?
Yes, Lord. We were doing stockings, and every year I feel like the amount of stockings that we have to stuff grow. And we have 10. I have 5 children.
Now, do you have your pet stockings up?
No, I don't have. I can't afford that, girl. Did you just hear me? I have 5 children. My dog does not get a stocking. Chester the cat does not get a stocking. I have 5 children. 5. And then I have two nephews that live with us.
Are you counting Brittany?
My prison daughter, she'll get a stocking. And then I have spouses. My kiddos, my grown kids have spouses. Hey, you still have to do, when you go to prison for 10 years, your 25-year-old has to have a stocking.
Yeah, right. She does. I know I had to when I got home, and I was, been in prison for 10 something years. I was like, do I have a stocking? I was an adult by then,
Well, you went in as a kid, so that was fair enough. That was a fair enough expectation. When you go in still believing in Santa Claus. Hey, I did see a great meme, or no, it was a great video, and I'm going to have to send it to you, but I'm going to have to send you the whole organization, because it's a bunch of formerly incarcerated dudes. Whatever their nonprofit is, they do excellent prison content, but they were mocking some kind of, somebody was like, something Santa, and the other guy, and the caption said, when you went to prison as a kid, so you come out still believing in Santa Claus. It reminded me of all of us. So yeah. What about you? How was your week? I stuffed stockings. What went down for you and worked, right?
Yeah. I mean, I worked, but I took Lori for her birthday to see Wicked, and it was phenomenal. It was incredible.
I'm so jealous. I watched Shrek the Musical with my 7-year-old at the high school.
Oh, well, that was kind of Broadway-ish.
It was. It was it was on a different level
Just
than
got
what
a bug. I'm sorry.
Oh, thank you for that, and thank you for showing everyone, Jen.
You're right. Like that. Sorry, I reacted. Poor cat is always like, "What's just happened? Goddamn bug."
Oh,
Sorry.
man,
Please continue.
I see you, Jackie. We're gonna get to that, I promise. We hate snitches too, and we're gonna get to it. Not that we condone violent acts, right? Oh, we
Did
have performed
I
them
just do
ourselves.
that?
Toonche, get it together. Let's
I'm
bring our guest
sorry.
on
Yes,
because
please, because
we need
that's
some help. Clearly, Toonche is distracted.
he was just he was going right up the wall. Hey, Colin.
Colin
Hey guys,
Rea.
so I am in the attic. It's a little quieter up here, so I'm just, you know what I mean. So there's no dead bodies or anything like that. We're all good. All right.
I
How's
love
everybody
that
doing
so
today?
much. You look like you're in some kind of bounce house, like the insulation looks like
Yeah, it's caving in. It's no.
Well, and like relevant to the podcast, if there was a dead body up there, just don't tell us, and
Right,
we're not gonna.
right. No,
It's not
we
our
won't
absolutely.
business.
snitch. We
It's
would
not our
not
business.
snitch. If a limb falls from the ceiling where you're storing whatever, yeah, we're not snitching here. So, Colin, please tell our audience just a little bit about yourself. I'll let you all know that I met Colin. We met a couple years ago in
2022,
Pennsylvania. Yeah,
yep,
2022.
end of
Um,
August.
that's right. Yeah. We were at a TikTok gathering and we run a Vice News piece from that gathering.
Yeah,
He is a prison TikToker. His telling of his story online was one of the first people that I saw kind of just boldly accepting that he made this crazy decision and that it landed him in prison, and just kind of boldly talking about it, using humor, using very dark humor, which a lot of formerly incarcerated people use to get
right.
through because we've been through some real shit.
Right.
And I felt like I was really starstruck when I first met you, Colin, and now I feel like you're one of my I mean, you're older than don't date me. Don't age me. You're not old, you're not young enough to be one of my kids, but I feel like you're right in that same category.
Listen, I got some years on me now. I'm getting older. I'm getting up there.
Yeah. So, Colin, please tell us a little about yourself.
So, first of all, thanks for having me, Marcy. Like she was just saying, like Marcy's been one of the coolest people that I've known through social media, not just in the TikTok like prison space, but just in the people that I've met and have like a genuine friendship with outside of that. Like one of the best people I know, and that's the truth. Um, Basically, long story short, I was 18, went on you could call it a spree if you wanted to. It was
It's a spree. It was a spree. It was 5, Colin. That's a
fi-
spree.
5 and 7 days, but if it was like not 5 in one day, I thought
Fair
that was a
enough.
spree. You know
Right.
what I mean? I didn't use a real gun or anything. I was a dumb kid. I graduated high school 4 months before. I didn't know that using a BB gun that looks like a real gun still gets you mandatory 5 years minimum. So suddenly I'm booked after a week of, doing these robberies. And then I sat the next 7.5 years until I eventually made parole. I actually just got off parole last month. I came home the beginning of 2019 and I got off parole last month. And now I'm officially done. So and it's funny because like so many people are like, dude, like how do you feel? Like it's got to be crazy, and it's like honestly, like no, it didn't. I like it. It changed nothing. Like I didn't do anything before. I don't do anything now. It's not like it wasn't. Parole was never like a deterrent for anything I was doing because I was already not doing that type of shit anyway. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
So it wasn't like, oh, I got to make sure I'm doing this. And I had a couple of written violations here and there, like, oh, I'm out of the district. Oh, I feel a urine, things like that. But things like that they don't care about in Pennsylvania. Like when you're like in prison, like on parole now, like county probation, yeah, they'll hem you up. But like when you're on state paper, like they'll tell you straight up, like don't run when we say we want to see you, don't commit a new crime, and you're probably not ever going back to jail. Worked out
Nice.
fine for me.
Yeah, nice. Now, Pennsylvania has some crazy stuff going on, like, with speeding tickets and driver's license stuff, and they have some crazy laws, don't get me
Wait,
wrong, but Texas?
wait, what do you mean?
Well, what did you told me something about how they suspend your
Oh,
license so
okay, okay.
easily
I
there.
thought you were saying no. I was gonna say, wait. I thought you were saying something with the laws was going on, and I was like,
No,
wait, I fit into that.
no, I have no new
Oh no, it was
information.
just about me.
Yeah, just that I
Yeah. So
know that they have some stuff that's harsher than Texas,
yeah,
but
yeah.
parole
There's
in Texas is the truth.
yeah. I like, and that's the thing. Like with certain stuff, like they say, like, oh, you can't have police contact. Like you got to let your PO know and stuff like that. And like, yeah, like you should just to like cover your grounds. But like they don't like if you get pulled over and don't say anything, like, and I get pulled over. Like that's one thing I'm gonna get pulled over a lot. It's just how it happens. I don't know why. It'd be a tail light out. I'm going 4 miles over the speed limit, but I'm the only car on the road. That type of shit. But yeah, parole didn't really care about like the driving stuff. It was more like just the like the crime stuff.
It has to feel a little good not being, under their watch, even though, like, you weren't about that crazy life, that you maybe had for that week, for that 1
Right.
week, you know? So it didn't really change things, but just internally, how did it feel to get off parole?
It felt good. You know, I did my little, got my good cry in and everything like that. Made my little video for myself. I didn't post it or anything. Just made my little video for myself because like a lot of people, like you guys know how recidivism works. A lot of the majority don't make it till they're off parole. They don't walk off 5.5 years. Like it's not, and it's sad that that's not the common occurrence. You know what I
Right.
mean? But at the end of the day, like, just gotta, be what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I, and unless, Toonch, you have any just, before we get into Luigi, you have any questions for Colin?
Oh, I'm ready to get into Luigi.
Yeah, I listen, Colin and I were on a phone call. He had some good news, good family news the other day. And just as a random side note, when he was hanging out, he was like, man, just cops are everywhere. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh gosh, it didn't even occur to me that cops were everywhere because he was in the town where Luigi got caught up. And
Yeah,
he's
it's
like,
literally
yes,
20 minutes.
so
And
wild.
that's what was so crazy about it was like obviously it happened in New York and we're not that far from New York. But that was the thing, it's like a week later. So it's like you're still pretty close to New York for it being a week later. And then like we'll get into all that. We'll
Yeah.
get into it. We'll get into it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was definitely crazy. There's feds out here. Seeing an NYPD car in Altoona is like what? It doesn't feel right. Like it feels like they're filming a movie or something. Like
Yeah, completely unexpected, for for your community, I'm
yeah,
sure. For those of you who maybe have been living in a cave somewhere or tied up in someone's basement for the past, several weeks, we're talking about, Luigi Mangione, and he is the gentleman who has been, arrested and officially charged with, first degree murder of a CEO, the CEO, of United Healthcare, who I can't even remember his name, and bless his family. My thoughts and prayers to his family. But I can't even think of his name right now. And so we're
I think his name
talking
was
about
March or
him.
something.
Yeah, I don't know.
What was his name?
I'm
United?
just gonna look it up because how disrespectful of us for his family. I mean, there was a loss there, and um, the way that it's just completely gone viral,
Yeah.
Brian
that
Thompson.
Oh
it
yeah.
was it was the little man fighting back. It really is the story. It's that story of big corporation taking advantage of us, just
Yep.
the average Joe. And did somebody snap and something happen? But yeah,
It was crazy. And like I mean, you guys see the like just the landscape of the world in general right now. Like people are becoming more and more aware and in tune with what other people are thinking and stuff like that. And like it was surprising when it happened, like because like I woke up in the morning and heard, oh, the CEO of United Healthcare. So like, yeah, I didn't know who that was or anything, but like, oh, like a CEO of any company getting murdered is like crazy. But then as soon as I saw the picture and it's him standing there with a suppressor on it with the mask on, I was like, oh, whoa, like this is about to get real like quick. And I mean, shit, it did.
Yeah, yeah. People are they love him.
Yeah.
The general consensus is they love him. And I actually, unbelievably, am prepared with a TikTok done by the Washington Post. And if y'all don't follow them, you actually can get real news on TikTok because news outlets are on TikTok.
Right.
But Washington Post is one of the news outlets that actually gets completely creative and entertaining with their content. This one's not so much entertaining as it is informative, but it'll kind of give you an idea about what the general consensus is about Luigi Mangione.
Depending on your age, this person could elicit a very different response. 41% of people aged 18 to 29 say Luigi Mangione's killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson was acceptable. In a separate poll, the same people in that age bracket view Mangione more favorably than Thompson. On the other end of the spectrum, those 65 and older view Mangione unfavorably by about 15 to 1. This can help explain why your TikTok or YouTube feed can look so different from what you're seeing on TV
my phone that
or in
froze?
the newspaper. Full disclosure, we are a newspaper on social media. Younger people are more likely to get their news from social media. And in this particular case, younger people had a very different point of
I
view
don't know how to
than
stop
older
it.
people. And that's why
I did this last time. There we go.
There
Sorry.
it is. It's okay.
I thought it was my Wi-Fi. I was like, oh, what's going on? Right now?
Yeah, and I might have I realized that I should have turned the volume up because I wasn't sure how the volume was going to come out when I played that. It seemed kind of low, but yeah. So I mean, basically, he was like, 18 to 49-year-olds. They love Luigi.
Yeah.
And they are aware of what he's charged with, and that does not waver. That doesn't change their opinion. That's the reason that they love him.
Right.
Actually.
Yeah, because it's like the most extreme act you can make. You know what I mean? Like, what else? Like, what other like form of like I guess you call it protest, but like, what else are you gonna do to like It's like the most he went to the top from the beginning. Like,
Literally.
he was like, oh, I could come out here with a sign, and he was like, no, I'm just do it my way.
So Luigi apparently has a manifest and takes the alleged murder weapon and the manifest and heads to Pennsylvania.
With the suppressor too in his bag. Don't forget.
Yeah, yeah. For a Big Mac.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't go through the drive-through. he goes in and sits down with the backpack full of evidence. And I made a video about this, so I should remember the lady who snitched on him, her name. Do you remember Kimberly Parker is what I wanted, but I was locked up with the Kimberly Parker. So that's what I think. Anyway, there was a reward and she called it in. So called it in and they picked him up in the McDonald's. And then there's something, I have another video that is about we're not going to listen to the whole thing, and hopefully I can get it off quicker than that. But she talks about how suspicious that is, that this man who was able to make this entire crime happen and was very detailed with logistics gets caught up in this way. So let's.
Luigi Mangione made a crucial legal mistake, but I don't think it was a mistake at all. Let's get into it. Now, I follow true crime all the time. I've never seen a case like this where it was so perfectly planned in advance, and yet the suspect got caught with literally all the evidence. I mean, he used a ghost gun, something that was untraceable. He wore a mask for 10 days in a hostel in order not to be identified. But then he was found in a very public place at a McDonald's. He was there long enough for the employee to not not only call it into the police, but for the police to arrive. And then he has literally all the evidence, the gun, the bullets, the motive. This is unheard of. One of the minimal things a typical person who committed a crime would do would be to dispose of the gun. So he either just changed his plan and decided he wanted to get caught, or something else here is going on. But the crucial legal mistake he made is when, and the reason why I think it shows that he wanted to get caught, was when the police officer came to the McDonald's and asked his name. The name he gave was the same fake name that he used to register under the hostel. That's how they knew he was the guy they were looking for. If he had used his real name, then they wouldn't have had.
That's wild. That's wild. I mean, there's a lot of theories going around the internet where I live about was he set up? Was he paid? Was this part of a larger operation? And he's just agreed to take the fall. What do y'all think?
I mean, I think that it seems pretty intentional. Like, you don't go through all of that to hide a crime and then be caught at a McDonald's with everything on you, right? Like the backpack full of Monopoly money, right? Like, it is of note that he seems to be a Swiftie. He did go to the Era store, it looks like, and anybody that loves Taylor Swift know that she wraps everything she does in a very strategic Easter egg way, so that everything has symbol and meaning. So it kind of makes you think of this. It seems that every single thing done here had some type of symbolic meaning.
Have y'all seen those videos about the 286?
I saw that.
Yeah, like the number 286. And of course, I watch a lot of those kind of, conspiracy theory type videos, but 286 pops up a lot in regards with him and with the way that, I mean, it was like the amount of people he follows on Twitter is 286, but it just goes on and on and on.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's some kind of puzzle. Swiftie fans need to get on that because they're the ones who are going to be able to figure it out because they do it for Taylor all the time.
So
Yeah.
I couldn't hear the video that was playing. So if I repeat anything, that I apologize. I saw one of the things. I'll tell you something I saw, and then I'll tell you like how I kind of like. So I saw like a lot of it was like about these companies having monopolies, the monopoly money, all that stuff. Well, in Altoona, it's like the historical like railroad that's on monopolies based on that railroad in Altoona. So that's also like symbolic to that game. I don't know if that's what they were saying in the video. Like I said, I couldn't hear it, but I feel like it only is one of two ways. I feel like he did it, planned it, wanted to get caught, got caught. Or he did it, but was paid by our government to do it, and they're going to let him get caught with all this stuff. They're going to send him to jail. They're going to give him the death penalty in the feds. They're going to execute him. And then they're going to send him off wherever for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
I don't, like I said, maybe that's far-fetched, but like, is it really at this point? Like,
Well, I don't think much is far-fetched in our country right now as a whole. You did mention something on our phone call that really intrigued me because I had watched, and I didn't pull that video, but there was a news reporter, a local news reporter there in Pennsylvania that was recording footage outside of the prison because
in Huntington.
He's housed in prison.
Yeah, he's in Huntington.
Okay. So he's he's in a separate area, but the guys in their cells are or maybe the day room and those windows are I don't know the layout of that prison, but they're watching the news and they're yelling to the window, out the window at the reporter. And some of the things they're yelling out is like, free Luigi, like they're, and they confirm that they're not around him. But yeah, I thought, well, he's being housed in a prison. And in Texas, if you get arrested and charged with murder or any other crime, you're going to the county jail.
Right.
So what do they do in Pennsylvania?
So that's the same. That's what they do in Pennsylvania, which is why it was odd, because like he's in a state prison. He has a state prison number, like a contact number and all that. Like that, you only get that if you get sentenced to state time in Pennsylvania, which obviously he hasn't been sentenced, has barely been in court. He went to not even a preliminary hearing yet. He should be in Blair County, but the thing is, like, these counties are small with the security and stuff like that. I think it was more of a security thing, because where they sent him was, it's SCI Huntington. There are two prisons on that like grounds. You have Smithfield, which is the prison that I was in, and then you have Huntington. Huntington's like an old school prison. It has a wall around it. So if you have like an escape charge or anything like that, they'll send you to one of the prisons that has a wall, because it's like you're not escaping from there. Not that you're escaping from any of these jails anyway, but you're not escaping from Huntington. So I think they just sent him in like into the hole in Huntington, but it was still odd because that's just not the, and obviously it's not like a typical case, I guess, but like, why isn't it? Just because this dude was a CEO? Like, murders happen every day, all the time, and we don't
Right.
hear anything about it again. But because of this dude's social status, now we're going to hear about it, right? Which is fine. I think the rhetoric that's going on is good. But, like, I'm sure you guys saw this. They had him charged. They charged him with second degree murder, but like in New York, it's weird. You can only charge him with first degree murder under like certain circumstances. So then they were like, oh, we're going to charge him with terrorism because then we can get him on first degree murder. You charge this dude, American citizen, killing another American citizen with no real like political reasons. Like, it might have been moral reasons, but like not like some like
Yeah.
with terrorism for a murder in New York.
Yeah.
How's that work?
Yeah, that's another thing I just kept, coming across was how in New York, it's really hard to get convicted of a first degree murder. Oh, am I on mute? No,
Oh,
sorry. Jen, you're on mute, and it made me think I was. It's really hard to get convicted of a first degree murder. It's not like that in Texas, but apparently in New York, they really have to go through a real thorough guidelines. It's in Texas, if you think about it before you do it, you can get convicted of
oh
first.
yeah, it's like that. It's like that here too. You don't beat people don't beat murder charges like that out here. Like if you get charged, you're cooked.
Yeah,
You're getting life for first degree murder. You're getting life, nothing less.
they got really creative over
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Do we think they're gonna house you? I mean, are they gonna move him? If it's so wild to me that they've charged him now, but he's still sitting in Pennsylvania.
Because so he has an, I don't know when it was. I saw a video about it yesterday or the day before, but he has his preliminary hearing for the Pennsylvania charges. I think it would be Thursday or Friday, because it's 10 days after you get charges when you have your preliminary hearing. And the day after that he has an extradition hearing. So
Okay.
they're probably going to waive the extradition hearing and get him extradited back to New York. But I mean, um in reality the way that it would work for like just a regular person, regular case, if you got charged in Pennsylvania, like say I got a robbery charge in Pennsylvania, but I had done something in New York. Typically, it's like whatever the more serious charges is like where they'll send you to fight that case like first.
Mhm.
But at the same time, if like he has a bond, obviously they denied his bond. So the only way he would be able to get extradited if they then waive that bond. That's the only way that it works. Like if you're in the county jail here and you have 4 cases and you're unsecured on 3 and you have $200,000 bail, you got to pay that bail.
Hmm.
You can't go like that. So it's like confusing. Like it's all confusing, honestly. But like, so when I caught my case Halloween, I got sentenced in February, like on leap day. I got charged with another case the day after I got sentenced, which they did it like that on purpose. It's another county though. So then they took me to court for my preliminary hearing in that county the day before I went upstate. And when I go there, mind you, I'm going upstate the next day. My time's been running since October 1st, or no, November 1st. They say, hey, if take unsecured, we can set a bond and you'll come to Cumberland County, or we can give you unsecured bond and then you'll go back to Franklin County today and then you'll go upstate tomorrow. So I was like, yeah, well, like, why the hell would I want to sit in your county jail? Like,
Right.
send me upstate. Well, once you do that, oh, unsecured bond. Oh, okay, send him back there. My time for that case never started running because I was bonded out, even though I'm in jail,
Mm.
in prison, serving a 6-year sentence at that point. My time is never running. So when I get sentenced a full year after I originally got arrested, I had a brand new 6 years starting and I already had a year in. My sentence was 6 to 12 overlapped by a year, and
Mm.
I did 7.5. That one, you know what I mean? It's the way that they work the laws to like,
Yeah. Yeah, to screw you over.
right. Yeah, yeah. No, exactly.
Intentionally screw you over. Uh, that's wild. We have a question. Eric's watching from Facebook, and he says, "Is it a federal prison he's housed at?" But it's a state prison,
Yeah,
right?
it's a state prison. And it's funny because like there are where Altoona is, there are like there's like 26 prison like state prisons in Pennsylvania, and there's like 10 of them within like a 40-minute drive from Altoona. And there's also a Fed prison like 10 minutes from here. So they could have sent them to a federal prison to house them, which is why it's also like you would think, okay, that's going to be like the top of the line, but that's not the way it works. Like the state prisons here are more secure than the federal prisons. Like,
I'm trying to think of what prison they would have stuck him in. Probably Pulaski in Texas,
yeah,
where they house. That's the men's death row prison.
is that
So I don't know. The whole thing is just wild that I feel like everybody thinks there's more to it, and that's why he's not housed um, where it would normally be. And I am wondering though, Colin, I want to know about the kind of the feel in your area, like after he got caught up, and we know that the bless her heart, the little McDonald's worker is catching all kinds of
Mhm.
hell. And I'm just kind of wondering what the feel is and how your community out there is talking about that. Has that McDonald's taken any heat from that?
So our community is very we're very rural, so like a lot of the political beliefs don't necessarily match up with like some like the I can't say with some of the stuff with like absolutely anything that I believe in, but you're entitled to whatever you want to do. But the consensus out here has been like, I'm glad they caught him, da da da, like that type of vibe, right? Because they don't understand, they don't understand, they don't. And another thing is this is such a area like that a lot of people have said they think that remember the lady said he was suspicious. It's
Mhm.
because nobody wears masks here. Nobody wore masks out here during COVID.
Mm.
You would get clowned for I would wear a mask and get clowned in the store for wearing a mask, like during the peak of COVID. Him wearing a mask in 2024 was 1000% why they were looking at him harder than they needed to be. Like literally, I know it was
Yeah.
because
I
nobody out here wears masks. So it's like very much like, oh, they're wearing a mask, and now you're looking at that person's face just a little bit longer.
Yeah, where I live now, I wasn't home during the peak of COVID. I came home in 21, March of 21, and they were just starting to open things up.
Mhm.
But you still had to have your mask on. Most places,
Right.
you had to have your mask on, like, to go in. But my little town out here proudly displayed signs on the door, you know, "We
Right.
prefer you not wear a mask," basically, "Come in breathing all over
Yeah.
everybody." Um, and Toonche is from a rural area. She grew up in a very rural she's an Austinite now.
No.
But I'm wondering how they did in East Texas with the masks, because I feel like the political climate out there was pretty
Oh.
similar to what Colin's talking about.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they weren't even wearing masks when COVID happened. And
Right.
right, I remember
Right.
wearing a mask into a restaurant to meet my parents, and my dad yelled at me, "What the hell are you doing with that damn thing on your face?" And I'm like, "Because there's a deadly disease happening." Like it was a political statement because our administration at the time made communicable diseases a political issue instead of a public health crisis. So it just became this symbol of, you know, conservatives, you know, so no, nobody was wearing, and it really, you really stuck out if you did.
Right. Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Wow.
But I think that all plays into like exactly what we're talking about too, is like the government and all these corporations, like they want us to be sitting here arguing about why you have a mask on and I don't, instead of why during all this, COVID, all the price gouging went crazy and nobody's doing nothing about it. You know what I mean? Oh, you got a mask on. Doritos are $9?
Right.
Like, oh, but you have a mask on. That's what I need to be worried about. They make issues out of, like you said, like things that aren't supposed to be like political issues. Like, oh, okay, how can we make them fight now? And it's stupid. And I feel like it's just gotten progressively, like, obviously gotten progressively worse. Cause I feel like when I was growing up, like, not that it was like a million years ago, but like, I feel like people didn't, not necessarily care about politics as much, but like it wasn't everybody's whole identity. Like now that's all it is. It's like,
Yeah.
damn, like wipe your mouth when you're done. Like,
Yeah, yeah. No, for sure. So unsurprising, or maybe especially based on even kind of what that your folks in your area were patting her on the back. Her coworkers weren't like, "No, girl, don't do that." Like, her
yeah,
co Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, because it really, like, it depends on, because like out here, like the further you get out from Altoona, the more rural it is. Like if you go into my Walmart here, you're not going to see someone that's not white more likely.
Mhm.
But in Altoona, there are more people of more races, so it is a little bit. It sways a little bit that, you know what I mean. You find at least a couple people that are thinking the same way as you.
Right.
But as a whole, like, and it's just like, I know we're gonna get into like the, like, snitching culture and everything like that, and like my whole thing is, well, actually, no. I'll let you. I'll get into that after you start on that.
Yeah, because McDonald's is catching hell, and, we're seeing even social media posts from other chain
Mhm.
restaurants with, I'm seeing stuff like with their employees lined up, holding up a sign, "We don't snitch," and
Right.
they're utilizing this for their marketing. I mean, it's a trending topic for sure, but,
Mhm.
they're going ham on McDonald's. They're going ham on that McDonald's in particular, on social media, and so I, of course, what as a small influencer, of course I have to make some video about Luigi.
Right.
I'm a prison content creator. I have to say something
Right.
online, and so I make a video just saying how, this chick Colin and snitching on him for the reward money, and then not getting the reward money because she called 911 instead of the
Mhm.
hotline. And then, as the cherry on the cake, she got fired from McDonald's for using the phone during her shift, which is crazy to me. Even I don't love snitching, but I feel bad for her, honestly, because now here you are, you've lost your job over this. And McDonald's had to take some kind of action, I think, because they're getting so much heat. But what
Mhm.
it reminded me of, is those little older women that would sit in the dorm with their notebook and write down. They would just sit and watch everything and write down, oh, Marcy's in her girlfriend's cubicle. Oh, Rochelle's getting her hair done with the free world perm. Oh, I saw so and so just pass a kite to the law. I mean, like, just writing it down. And we had cameras, so
Right.
she's got it. She's got her snitch book. And when she would start dropping I-60s, the laws would come in. They'd review the camera and they would come in. But what they would also do is hem her up. They would end up going in her cubicle, finding whatever stupid contraband she got. She was going to get a case too. Like, it
Right.
just it wasn't beneficial for you to snitch in there. Besides not being liked, besides in women's prisons, it's not so much. I have fought somebody behind snitching, but it's
Mhm.
not so much a violent reaction. I think in men's prisons, the culture's a little different. In
Right.
women's prisons, oh, we're not going to do business with her. That means, when it's whatever, we ain't trading with her. We ain't like,
Right.
it was worse. The worst thing you could get labeled at is someone who did bad business.
Right.
Like, and then, so that was kind of the repercussions, but it just reminded me of that because it's this lady doing what she thought was the right thing. And then it still just came all the way
So
around.
so here's my thing. I think if you're calling the cops on somebody for a reward or some sort of payment, I don't think you were doing it because you wanted to be a good person. You know what I mean? I think you were doing it because you're a snake. I think there are differences between snitching and calling the cops. I'm a firm believer in that. If an old lady's standing on the street and sees someone get robbed and calls the cops and makes a statement, she's not a snitch. She's just a law-abiding citizen. Now, if she was the lookout for the case and then told, that's different. But to put yourself unnecessarily into a situation with the hopes of gaining a reward for it, yeah, nah, like,
Fair enough.
and like that's the thing. Like, I haven't heard like the lady talk. I don't know if she did like interview or anything. Like, I'm not sure, but like a lot of this stuff gets like passed along in translation and might not be even correct information. Like the first thing that I heard was the reason that he got the cops called on him was because he tried to use a fake ID in McDonald's, which makes no sense because why would you ever use any ID in McDonald's? You never
Right.
would. You know what I mean? No, what it was the cops got called. They searched him when they found him and he had fake IDs, but it got lost in that translation. She called 911. She might not even have known there was a tip. I didn't know there was a tip out for dude.
Yeah.
I had no idea. But you don't know. But
Yeah.
it's still like
Yeah. I
because
don't
it's such a high profile thing with so many people like behind it, that's why it's such an issue in this moment. Because if it was another type, like if it wasn't, you know, countrywide news or anything, nobody would have said anything about it, you know?
Yeah, thank you, Jerry. And Colin, Jerry's one of our friends from prison. She did 3 decades, three or it's
Goodness.
three. Yeah, she did a minute. And she says she's watching for YouTube. Thank you for remembering to watch from YouTube. I'm always going to be against hurting others. And I think
Right.
I got a lot of pushback from that, from me going on social media, kind of comparing this lady to a prison snitch. And
Right.
actually in my mind, well, first of all, I didn't lose sleep over the loss of a CEO, and I do have compassion for his family on a
Yeah.
personal level because there is a loss there, and I agree with you, Jerry. I'm not for continuing the cycle of violence, right? But do I have some understanding? I don't think it's black and white here. Like it
Right.
wasn't just some random act of violence. So I think that there's more to that. And we were locked up with a lot of folks that they're same thing. Like the story is this big. It's not this tiny little thing that we
Right.
can all understand in one glance. But mostly I was just trying to show how the authority or the big people, they just don't care about us.
No.
The laws in prison, they don't care, even if you're trying to tell them and trying to feed them information, and the system out here just doesn't. They've made it apparently clear that they don't care about the general population, which is a
Right.
prison term, general society, right? So, and yeah, Mandy is absolutely, Mandy's going hard, which she is one of our other friends from prison. She said, people are shot every day without
I
national
agree. I
or
agree.
enforcement. And it was an issue because he is a rich white man. I mean, we live in a state or in a country, but in a state where we just had a report on our youth prison system, Colin, that
Oh God.
the US DOJ did. And I mean, we're raping and killing children in our custody, and it's reported and it's seen on camera and and it's getting, I can't get it in the media. I can barely, I mean,
Right.
but this CEO gets shot and it's everywhere.
Right. I agree. I agree.
So let's talk about snitching a little bit. We just have 10 or 15 minutes left. But I definitely want to get into men's versus women's prisons and the culture, because the women would snitch a lot of times to be petty,
Right.
and not necessarily, or just if they were like that miserable old lady that I don't know, wanted to get in good grace with the law or whatever she thought she was doing God's work. I don't know what they thought, but if me and Toonch got plexed up in there, and maybe whatever it is, maybe she got my job, maybe she talked to my chick, maybe whatever, then I'm gonna ride. I might ride a little kite and walk to the picket. And just so you know, I did not snitch in prison, but I'm just saying how it would done. I'm saying it's
Right.
me, and I would walk to the picket like I wanted to get something from the officer. I'd be like, hey, can I get an I-60? Hey, could I get some extra tampons? Hey, whatever. And I would really leave that note in
Right.
there. I had somebody snitch on me. I was under somebody's bed one time, and the lady, somebody snitched on me that very way. So that's kind of, but they don't really, like I said, there's not what's the reaction? First of all, tell me what people snitch on in men's prisons,
Okay.
and then talk about reaction.
Just so you know, my phone's on 2%. So if I go away, it's because it died. But I'm going to talk. Just like,
Colin
so
lives his life with an empty tank of gas and his phone battery on less than 10%.
listen, I know it was on 24% when I started. I tried.
Yeah, if you
So
die, it's okay. We understand.
so so in there, a lot of people that are labeled snitches in prison in Pennsylvania aren't for things that they snitched on in prison about. It's word comes from the street, or somebody knows them from the street and they told on a case on the street, and that's why they're labeled a snitch. You have a couple like people that everybody in the jail knows, like, okay, this person is a jailhouse snitch. Oh, they go down to security all the time. They're coming back with food and this and that. But it's weird because like you never really see anybody get booked behind, like, nobody's ever like, oh, I went to the hole and this is why. It's always like never like the same. You know what I mean? So you just stay away from those people, obviously. But what's weird, like up there, is like they have a security team and they have like a security office and all that. And the security teams will go to different blocks, do shakedowns and all, like they're always doing that. They'll be in the yard walking around. But the security office, they can just call down to the block and be like, hey, can you send such and such up here? You can't say no.
Mm, mhm.
So they'll be like, oh, can you send such and such up here? So what happens is people will be like, yeah, yo, like my Sally's coming with me though. Or like, yo, like it started with like gang members doing that. Like, I'm not going down there without
Yeah.
another one of my guys. Like, it's just not happening. I'm not talking in front of nobody without somebody there to witness. So it just kind of like, and I was never in a gang, but like everybody that I was around was, and like not like the couple people that I was always with, but like I was cellies with a dude that was the head of a gang. He sat at the table with the head of this gang, who I was the only white dude that sat at the Latin King table. Like, well, I would just come and sit down, like, oh, it's up, like, sit down. Nobody would say anything. New Latin Kings would be up and they'd be like, yo, who's the white? They'd be like, no, 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 Shaggy, like, chill, he's fine. Like, I just didn't care. I was just cool with everybody. But like, if I saw somebody, like, because I got called to security one time, but it wasn't because they wanted to see me in security, it was because the state police were here to see me for a case I caught in the county.
Mm.
So they called me to security. So then I'm like, oh, I tell my celly, like, oh, you got to come with me. We go up there and they're like, he can't come in here. It's an interrogation. I was like, I want a lawyer. Ain't no interrogation. They're like, oh,
Right.
you don't even want to know what you're being charged with? Oh, what am I being charged with? Oh, simple assault. Oh, okay. And what's funny is, I ended up saying like, oh, fuck it. Yeah, I'll talk. I gave him a full confession for what I did so that the other situation didn't get booked. My homie, we were all in the county. My homie was messing with the CO. They're married now, but he was messing with the CO. Somebody was telling about it. I was down on writ from upstate, so nothing I do in the county is held against me, or unless I like beat someone's ass too bad, and I beat his ass too bad. So I ended up getting charged with that.
Oh,
So the
Lord.
state police were like, "Oh, we won't charge you with this assault if you tell us, was she bringing stuff in for him doing this?" I was like, "Oh yeah, like you're gonna have to charge me with the assault, bye." And they're like, "Oh well, why'd you beat his ass?" I was like, "He's a racist. He said he was gonna stab me because I'm around black people." Literally, he was a racist. They had like a
Yeah.
swastika and all that.
Oh, there he goes. There he goes. Colin has left the building. I just
That's it, Colin.
yes, he lives his life like my oldest son, who I am on the phone often with him, and the call just drops, and I'll be just calling back, and I get a little franticky, and then his boyfriend will call from his phone. Hey, just Austin's phone just died.
Right.
Or didn't call you back. I want to leave Colin on there so badly just because it's so funny that it's froze. I wish it had frozen a more unforgiving pose because he just looks like regular Colin here, but I'll let him go. Yeah, I did want to say that when Colin talks about sometimes some of the things on his videos about the way that race issues happen in men's prisons in Pennsylvania, very different from Texas prisons. And people sometimes don't believe him, and they'll go kind of hard in the comment section, and he'll come back with a video. And they also have all these pictures. Every other state, Toonche, has great pictures from incarceration. Like you're with your homies and you're doing
right.
prison pose, and that was not going down in Texas. We have visitation pictures. And we went through a time, remember, where we couldn't even like have our arm around our mom at visitation. They'd be like, no touching.
Well, and can you imagine the desk calling you up and you're like, oh, I'm not going unless I can bring Brittany or Miss Jerry? That's
never happening.
What world does that happen? That's never going to happen. And when you get called out when we would get called to command, nobody really tripped on that. But when you got called to admin, people were like, oh, she getting called out to snitch on somebody.
See, at Murray, it was when you got called to the Safe Prisons office. That means you dropped an I-60. It could mean one of two things. Either you dropped an I-60 or someone else dropped one on you.
Yeah.
And then you were coming down. But Colin would post all those pictures, and he's the only white boy in all of his prison pictures. So he speaks the truth when he says that. And it's really fascinating because I think the culture inside of men's prisons here is quite different. But anyways, well, that was a treat. And if he was here, I would say thank you, Colin, for sharing some insight on men's Pennsylvania prisons. And so we can kind of have an idea about the culture inside the prison where old Luigi is being housed.
Luigi.
Luigi. I just love that it's Luigi, and all the Mario memes are coming out. Mario worried about his brother, or Mario at prison visitation, or I don't want, again, I'm laughing, and I don't mean to be it's not a light situation as a whole, but God help us, we have to laugh for our sanity right now.
Yeah. I mean, when corporate media is just horrified that there's all these jokes and memes and rallying and making Luigi a hero, that it just shows you how out of touch they are with the common person and the struggles they have with healthcare, and watching so many people die without access to healthcare, and watching this corporation. I don't think that people have a hard time or a misunderstanding about, people in leadership roles may make more money because they have more responsibility. It's the disparity. It's the millions of dollars. It is the disparity that makes people enraged, not the fact that they make a living and have a salary and might have a big salary because they're a CEO. It's the disparity, and it's watching people not get the coverage that they have. And, I just find it's just glaring to me that the people that are horrified. But I think, again, to the point about dark humor, is that, that's how we survive prison. And I think the other part of it is that we were around people that committed violent acts, right? They're just people. And there's a need that's not met. There's a victim that's hurting, but there's a person that did this that is trying to get a need met, to get a cause heard that they don't feel is heard.
Yeah, absolutely. And what a great summary. And I'm just so glad you did that, because it is absolutely the disparity between the CEO and the person can barely afford health care because the average salary can barely afford it. So if you're not working somewhere that can help you with that, and then getting denied for treatment, denied for treatment, and denied for treatment. And Mandy says it really well here. She's watching for YouTube. Thank you, Mandy, for remembering to watch from YouTube. This generation finds humor in anything and everything because the system is so tragic. Dark humor to survive. And for certain, Toonche, you were right on. That's how we survived incarceration. That's how, frankly, you and I, for sure, deal with our trauma from prison. You know, it's how we handle it. And it's either laugh or cry. Eric says if I didn't laugh at least once a day, he was going to go off on someone. Like you have to laugh. And sometimes when there's not much to laugh at, these are the things that we find humorous.
Well, I mean, because it speaks to what, in terms of the act, what else do we need to do? And I have said that about our youth system. And, Mandy also had put in the comments about, when you mentioned the DOJ report, like, can't get people, other than advocates to pay attention to this. Corporate media won't pay attention to it. Like, oh, there's a sort of story and whatever. But a billionaire gets assassinated, and it's a big deal. And it's a problem, and it's abuse, and it's murder, and it's all the outrage. But, the other things that happen to us, little people, doesn't matter. And it's so the same way I've always said, the things, I did in my life that were violent. What else is it going to take for you to hear me? What else is it going to take for people in power to hear us? I've said that about the youth system. What else is it going to take? And that is pushing people further down the line to desperation.
It's the entire system failure that this continues, these kind of events. And we're not going to go into it because we're at the last few minutes. But I mean, we just recently had another school shooting, and it speaks to what's going on in our society and the lack of needs being met for most certain. Thank you for that, Toonche. Any last thoughts, or did you lay it on us already?
Well, just thinking about the calling in on him, I think for those of us that were incarcerated, we understood that, right? So I'm not going to snitch you out because I understand, whether it's this weird, complex, gray moral area, but like, I understand why you did what you did. It may not have been right. It may have been violent. It may have been inappropriate, but I understand it. And, and you were right. It always comes back around to that person that tells. They always get the short end of the stick more than anybody else. And you mentioned the older ladies sitting in the day room telling on everything. Thank you, Miss Jerry, for not doing that. But they did.
Yeah,
they did. And it made them vulnerable themselves to do that.
You said something, and then my toddler screamed from the next room, my little nephew, and I lost what I was going to say about it. I think just about how when we were inside there, to a certain level, we held each other accountable. We didn't go to the laws or the authorities to put us in the hole, to take away our phone calls or visits with our family. We held each other accountable. And we did that in a way, honestly, that could be useful out here.
Yeah. It makes me think of Belinda and all the years that Belinda did. And there was we used to call Belinda Vito. And if you've watched The Godfather, you know who Vito is, right? And so she would always say, "It's too late. You don't go to the law. You come to me first," right? Like, once you've done that, that's too late. There's nothing I can do to help you. But we certainly didn't let injustices towards each other go. we handled it among ourselves. We don't have to get the law involved, because when the law gets involved, they're going to do damage, and they're not going to they don't care for the community. It's the community that cares for the community. And how do we translate that out here? I don't know, but you're right. It's not lawlessness. There's honor among thieves, they say. There really is. But once you get the law involved, that sense of justice is gone.
Yeah.
No, the people gonna knock on my door tonight. I told myself to be a little bit. It makes me nervous, because even talking out about this stuff, I think moving forward is going to be an act of bravery and an act of resistance for all of us, because the way they charge this man with terrorism over this lets you know that people in power are frightened of the people. They are.
Yeah, I agree, and they should be, because we if things were right, we would be making the decisions collectively, the mass majority, and that's not always easy when it's a power struggle, for sure. I saw, and I can't find the comment already. AIC's advocate. Thank you. There you are. You said, thank you for watching from YouTube. Is there an episode next week? And Toonche and I are going to pre-record, because next week's holiday show, the next week's episode falls on Christmas Eve. So we won't be live, but we will stream something, I promise. And I will most likely be in the comments. We have a lot of family stuff, and Toonche is going to be with her family that evening. But tune in anyway, and at least drop us a line, and know that we're absolutely thinking about you. You are our community. You are our grounding, and we appreciate you immensely, more than you know. Thank you for remembering to hit the like button. Thank you for sharing the live. Thank you for all the good comments and the community tonight. We will be back here, recorded episode next week, and 2 weeks from now, live Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Thank y'all for hanging out with us on the Recyard Women's Prison Podcast with Marci Marie and Toonche. Make sure and subscribe to our